So we're here in front of the Julie Billiart School. It's a school for students with special needs. And we're going to go see Laney Davis and see why the school has gotten so many accolades and has such tremendous success with these students. Come on in. I'm here at the Julie Billiart School with Laney Davis, and I had a chance to go through this recently, and the school is just amazing. So I wanted to come back and be able to get some video and share with everyone just the tremendous impact this school is making. Now, Laney, I was introduced to this school through a friend of mine, as this school being a school that specialized in helping those with special needs, autism, ADHD, stuff like that, I believe. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, can you give us a little bit of a history about the school?
So yes, our school has been here for 61 years. We are a school that's completely dedicated to students with special learning needs. They are all educable, so the spectrum is mild to moderate. About 65% of our kids are on the autism spectrum. The other ones have another range of disorders, whether it's anxiety, ADHD, dyslexia. All of our students come to us with an IEP, an individualized education plan. And for 61 years, we have been serving that population. We were founded by the Sisters of Notre Dame, and now here today we have a governing board of directors. We are a Catholic school, but we serve all faith traditions, and we have K-8 students, and currently looking at our expansion plan.
Wonderful. And so you're a non-public charter school, is that right?
Yes, we are a non-pub charter, so that we can be a Catholic school but serve all students, and then we do get a lot of state funding through the autism scholarships and the John Peterson scholarships.
Wonderful. Now, one thing you had mentioned to me when we were talking about what makes this place so different, you started out with just the staff you have, and I understand none of them are just general ed, they're all intervention specialists, is that right?
Yes, they're all highly trained to work with this population of students. We have in K1 and 2, there are 12 kids and 2 intervention specialists per grade. So it's about a 6-to-1 ratio. When we get to 3rd grade, we add 4 spots. So there are 16 spots, 16 kids per grade, and 2 intervention specialists. So it's an 8-to-1 ratio. And intervention specialist is really just that they are highly trained in special ed. In addition to that, we have a behavior therapist, a BCBA, who's on staff, who trains the teachers to work with the behaviors that are functions of the learning challenges. Then we have 2 speech-language pathologists that work on the social skills and the social thinking curriculum. Then we have an occupational therapist, as well as an art therapist and music therapy. And so all of that encompasses this whole child approach to education.
And walking around with you, and we'll get a chance to walk through some here in a minute, but it goes a lot further than just the staff. I mean, obviously the staff makes the school, and the passion is really what I believe drives success, but just the tools you use and the resources. What do y'all use here that's different, or what do y'all look at that's different that really kind of allows y'all to get to the next level with these types of children?
So it's really about the approach that you use with the students. So it's about the staff figuring out how the student learns best, and then allowing them to activate and get that information from the kids. So we use a lot of sensory integration tools throughout the classroom. We also figure out the different ways, the different multimodal approaches that we can use to best meet their needs. For example, you'll see at the bottom of these chairs, there are bouncy bands. And these help for when there's extra energy. The children are expected to sit and learn. However, sometimes their body and what they're dealing with ADHD and just an attention issue, they can't sit for that long, which means that they can't show you what they know on paper if they're not sitting. So we do a variety of things. You may see them standing up by their desk. You may see them sitting on a bouncy ball. They use these bouncy bands to provide some of that input that their core and their body is looking for at that time. And when you can do that, then you can find that you can sit and concentrate longer. One of the best stories that I told, it was when I watched a child who had math problems in front of him, and he could not seem to tell us what he could do. He was real agitated. So the teachers put the math problems on the board and put a trampoline in front of the board, and he went through every single math problem and he got 100%. And you know, in a public school, if you couldn't possibly do it right then and there, they may just give you a 0 on the test. But instead, our teachers worked to say, I know he knows this information, so how can I make sure that he gets it to me? And so that was one of the...
So it's not like the traditional thought sometimes. You don't have to discipline a child who has a lot of built-up energy and it contains. You just have to find ways that he can release it while exhibiting the knowledge he has or learning from those that may be trying to teach him.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's very child-centered, and it's very much relies on us as the educator to figure out how the student can get us the information to show us that they've mastered a skill.
Now, you told me a story yesterday, too, about a sensory swing. Can you explain that story again?
Yeah, so in the classrooms, in K1 and 2, we have a sensory swing, and that is, a lot of brain research will tell you that language is stimulated in the frontal lobe. And so we got these sensory swings. They can be used for multi-purposes. It can be a reward. It can also be if there is some anxiety. But the children can sometimes take spelling tests in the sensory swing. It can provide some compression if needed. And really, it's just another tool that's not used at all to discipline or penalize. It's really another way that we know how a child learns, and provides the input that is needed so that their brain can really work through the language component, which is all stimulated from swinging.
So they actually sit in it and swing. At that point, they can actually, I guess, provide the oversight they need, or understand and process the information to be able to take tests in certain cases. I think you mentioned spelling tests with the situation with
right,
that one.
right.
Okay.
I've seen spelling tests in the swings before, and you find that the children can spell better when it's less paper pencil and more just verbal.
Right. Now, you mentioned compression a second ago as well, and I know sometimes, was it weighted vests they use for these types of children? I guess children with autism use weighted vests, and you said Under Armour is helping y'all out because those compression shirts can provide that same sense as well. Right,
right. So sometimes as our kids get older, we would like to help them find accommodations that don't make them different. So a weighted vest when you're in 5th grade, isn't as typical. So we've started to, when they get to a certain age, they sometimes wear the compression shirts underneath their uniforms, and it does provide that sensory input to the core that they're looking and seeking for.
So it's amazing. So it's not just a school to come here and learn, but you actually help make sure they have the tools and resources necessary to transition out and be able to go out there and tackle the careers in front of them.
Right.
And like I said, not have to feel that they're any different, and be able to really have unlimited success out there.
Right. One of the cool things about our school is that the kids feel as if human beings struggle with something in their life. And so they're here because they're working through some of their struggles, and they're also finding what they're really, really good at. So when they do leave us and go on to high school, typically they know exactly what their gifts are. They know what they want to do and how they're going to use those gifts. And they will say to you, I know everyone struggles, and I struggle with this, but this is how I accommodate for that. And it's really a beautiful thing, and it's a neat approach.
It is. Now, one thing I learned yesterday was when it comes to reinforcement, everything is positive, nothing is negative here, i.e. the bead necklaces that you got up on the wall. Can you explain to me how the bead necklaces with the red and the blue works here? Because I found that kind of interesting.
Yeah, so we use expected and unexpected behavior. It's all part of Michelle Garcia Winner's social thinking curriculum. And so across the school, we will say it's an understanding that there is behavior in each environment that's expected and unexpected. And when there's expected behavior, the staff will point it out and give them a lot of credit for it. And they can earn, when it's a token economy system, they can earn a red bead. And when they earn this bead, they get to turn in their beads in order to buy something at the end of the school week. But the red beads are really to say, that's expected behavior in this setting, and, I appreciate when you do this, and then that makes you feel good, and it's that interior incentive. The blue beads are the unexpected behaviors. And so the kids learn very early that maybe what's expected in gym class is not what is expected when you're taking a spelling test at your desk. So it's really neat. It's a positive reinforcement system that goes across the entire school. So you'll even hear our wonderful non-instructional staff saying, that's expected, I like that expected behavior. And then the kids start to learn what's expected of them.
That's amazing. So when they do something that's expected, they get the red bead, and they get a reward at the end of the school week for the number of red beads they collect. When it's unexpected, they're given a blue bead. Not that it takes away from red beads or anything, it's just to let them know that that may be an action that's not expected in that environment. And you shared with me going to you took the kids to a baseball game, and the child that was trying to get a bottle of water. Can you share that with me?
Yeah, so there was the group last year. We have a summer camp program, and we have wonderful directors that have taken this summer camp program on. And they try to focus on a social skill throughout the week, and then they go and they use it in the community in a different place. So something that, a student wouldn't naturally know is when you're at a baseball game, to get a water or to get someone's attention, they just raise their hand like they were in the classroom because they hadn't generalized that skill. So they worked on what is appropriate at a baseball game, and it is okay to say, hey, water guy, I want a water. But in the classroom, it's not expected to say, hey, teacher, I want. So we really did work on that. And at the end, when that child had never been to an Indians game before, he left there and told his grandpa that he wanted to go to an Indians game with them. And the grandpa was moved to tears and said, I've never been able to go to an Indians game with my grandson before. I never knew it was possible. So those are all kind of those life-giving stories that come out of what we do here at Julie Billiart School.
That's amazing. Now, one thing we're going to see also in a minute are the lights. I know the lights here don't have some of the covers because of the natural light we have in this room, but talk for a second about how you adjust some of the lighting with the covers and what that's about.
Well, there is research that when you have sensory integration processing disorder, that some of the extra stimulation, lights being one of them, the fluorescent lights, so we changed a lot of our bulbs to the natural lights, but it was still sometimes too intense for our kids. Some of our younger kids weren't articulating that, but they seemed agitated, they seemed, more on edge. And so we did a little bit of a, what were the lights like before? How did you feel in the classroom? And then we spent a week with these new covers, forget the exact name, but they actually cover the lights to provide a different hue of color. And the children the second week in the first grade, they were saying, my body feels more calm. I feel more okay. And we do know that that was just another environmental stimulation that we were able to make more conducive to the learning environment.
Now let's talk for a second about how you're funded, because this is an amazing school and the results have just been, I'll use the term unexpected for most of us outside that world, and it's been nothing short of tremendous. But this is actually in part funded by the state of Ohio, only to the extent that they give you the average cost to educate a student across the state of Ohio, which is, I believe, what, 17,000? How much was it again? 17,000? Depends on the, I guess, the special need.
Right. The Autism Scholarship Program through the state of Ohio, and we're very blessed to live in Ohio with a governor who supports the parents being an active member of school choice. But there is $27,000 allocated to a state certified provider throughout the state of Ohio. So the parents actually can access those dollars if they give up their free appropriate public education and they say, I have found a school that I believe my child will thrive in, so the money then follows the child instead of staying in the district.
Okay, so it's $27,000 for that.
For the Autism Scholarship Program.
Okay.
And then the John Peterson Scholarship is for all the other special ed categories on the ETR, which is the Evaluative Team Report. That all has a monetary amount linked to it. So for example, OHI minor has about about 9,500, I believe, allocated to a provider for a child with ADHD who is categorized as OHI minor. So all it is doing is really allowing the parents to be an active participant in what their child needs, and then to be able to find it in the community.
And then if the parents have a subsidy, that scholarship from the state, and it doesn't support the full amount of the tuition here, then they can add more themselves. Though I understand a lot of your parents don't have that ability, but there are private dollars that have flown in here to help with that as well.
Right. So if the tuition isn't covered by the scholarship costs, the parents make up some of it, and then we also rely a lot on our private funding and just our wonderfully generous donors who have helped us make sure that kids, regardless of their ability to pay, can attend school here.
Wonderful. And the typical tuition is ballpark, what's that?
This year it's $24,500.
So it's not that much at all things considered, especially compared to maybe private schools in a lot of areas.
Yeah, when you look at the in-house services that we have, we are one of the most cost-effective programs when you think about all of the intervention specialists per kid and all of the extra services and behavior therapists and professional services that we have. Those aren't typical in a school. And so, we pride ourselves on the fact that, that is a big number, but compared to other schools like us, it's relatively low.
And what I was amazed by when we spoke last time, we were talking about the financial side, was you had mentioned that if all your students were on the autism spectrum and had the $27,000 scholarship, that you could fund this whole school, operations and otherwise, off of that amount of tuition per student without other outside support from parents or anywhere else.
Yeah, that would cover the cost of tuition, yes. Which is pretty wonderful. But because we don't only educate students on the spectrum,
sure.
And we're open to a lot of the students who just simply need us for the other types of services that we offer, we do have some funding to make up for.
Well, that's wonderful. And there's, I guess, a number of different needs that you can educate in this type of classroom where they can all benefit. And that's what y'all do here, I guess, is anyone that can benefit from this type of environment, you'll be willing to take in.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And a lot of neurotypical kids, your typically developing children, would benefit from this environment because it is so child-centered and because it is, we respond to the children with love. We have high expectations of them, but we respond with love. And I think that that's kind of the secret sauce that you find at Julie Billiart School. And so all kids would benefit, but our focus and our mission has always been for students with special learning needs.
That's great. Well, let's take a walk. I know you have a relaxation room, I saw, and I really want to see that room. So.
Yes.
Okay, so you just handed me a break card. So what's the break card?
Well, it says, I am feeling upset. I need to calm down. What do I do? So in third grade, we're really working on the self-advocacy, knowing that, I'm feeling angry or I'm feeling upset, and here are some strategies that I have to work on it. So in our break room, which it can also be kind of a de-escalation zone, there's a number of items that they can pick from. So they can sit on the ball. They can identify with the mirror. They can identify how they're feeling. They can use a stress ball. There are weighted blankets that provide some of that input that they're seeking. The best thing is that they have to figure it out, and they really have to start understanding that when I feel this way, here are some of my strategies to get me to calm down and go back to my learning, so that they're really not missing much when they need to figure this out. But it's a really great life skill. It follows us, throughout our adulthood, and they can find different ways in what used to be an old bathroom. We've turned it into a relaxation room that they can figure out themselves.
And so before we go in there, so you've got the chart here. So I saw this being used a little bit yesterday in the game that they were playing out there. So describe a little bit about what they do with this and the game that they play.
So yesterday in our camp, they were playing a game where they would put an emotion on their back, and then the child would read the emotion and have to reflect with their face what that emotion meant. That's to help them to understand what's going on inside of them and then how they can express it on the outside. So expressive and receptive language is something that a lot of our children are struggling with. So the game and this opportunity in the classroom is really important. So for example, there was a child that had sad on the back, and the other child role played it and said, and the child had to guess, well, that means you're sad. That's also working on that social component, which is hard for a child on the spectrum to identify in himself and someone else what emotions are going on. So you have to teach it directly, and that is one of the strategies to teach it directly. And
I imagine that's a very important skill, especially when you communicate with someone else. And because you and I communicate through facial expressions all the time, and
right.
So for everyone to understand when they look at a UI or anyone else out there, you know, what they may be feeling or what emotion they may be feeling just by that expression.
Right. As adults, we pick up on body language all the time. I can tell if you're feeling angry. I can tell if you're, you know, really upset at me. I can tell if you don't like me. That's something that you have to teach a child on the spectrum, because it's not natural for them to look and understand what I'm feeling just based upon my body, my face. So there is a direct teaching that needs to happen.
That's great. Before we go into the relaxation room, so I'm talking about games. I saw one else that was being played, and I didn't expect to see the other day. You know, we're in this society today where some people say, you know, everyone needs to win, everyone needs to get a trophy, we can't hurt people's feelings. And specifically, you would think, you know, those with needs, maybe that is a good thing. But here, you're teaching that not everyone wins, and y'all were playing a game of rock, paper, scissors where the kids were jumping into whatever, you know, there'd be a rock or scissors
right.
with the regular spread open. So what do y'all teach here with regards to winning, losing, and via those types of games?
Yeah, I mean, we do use social stories. We do use, again, direct teaching when it comes to winning and losing, but we also know that it's natural in life to feel upset when you don't win something. So you set up opportunities for them to really feel what it feels like to lose and to work through it, and to know that, you know, I'm not always going to win, and that's okay if I continue to try. So, you know, what you saw, Glenn, was when they were doing rock, paper, scissors with their bodies so that they could get some brain gym activities in and really get their entire body engaged. They were taught to, when they win or lose, they had to shake hands and say, good game, whether they lost or whether they won. It also works on when we do win, not to gloat and, you know, rub it in someone's face, and they kind of have to walk in those footsteps, and they're just little snippets of winning and losing that they have to feel.
There's probably some professional sports players that could use to come here for us there too.
Yes, we're open to that too. Yeah.
All right, so let's do the relaxation room.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the relaxation room. It's a little brighter than I saw it the other day just because of the lighting for the camera. But so what is this room?
So this is really where, when they need a break and they've identified that my body feels upset, something's not right, they can come in here. There is a desk over here where they can pick from a variety of different sensory tools or something that might calm them down on the spot. But again, it's identifying, if I'm feeling upset, here's 3 things that I can do, and here's where I can go. And then it really is not, it's student driven. It's not that the teacher is saying, do this, you're upset. It's the child identifying, I'm feeling upset and here's what I can do.
So it's not the teacher saying, you're being a bad kid, go to the corner. It's the student saying, I'm feeling something that I shouldn't be feeling right now. Instead of disrupting where I am or not being able to learn from the environment, I'm going to basically move myself away, come into this room, get recentered, and then go back out when I feel comfortable. And they learn to recognize all that in themselves as opposed to someone telling them, you're bad, go away.
Exactly. And in the lower grades, when they're unable or just learning to identify it, the teachers may say something like, it looks like your body's upset. Is your body feeling upset? And the children will say, yes, my body feels upset. Let's figure out something we can do. And then by the time they get to 3rd grade, they're really identifying that in themselves.
That's great. I think I could use one of these spaces as well. Wonderful. Okay, let's go through a couple of the other classrooms. So this is the sensory swing?
Yes. This is our sensory swing. We're in the 2nd grade resource room. So very often you will find that there'll be a group of kids maybe sitting on a ball working, and then you might see one child over here maybe working in the swing, or maybe just swinging back and forth. Some like it closed to kind of take a little break and just swing back and forth. And again, that stimulation, that movement helps them calm down, find their center, and it also does help them get it ready to learn in the small group setting for just little snippets of time.
Wonderful. Now there's a chart over here. And it looks like something I would see in a public school, that child doing outstanding work all the way down to parent contact, and they need some oversight, I guess, or talking to you about their parent. Is this the same thing for y'all, or how do y'all use this?
So every child has their name on a clothespin. They all start their day at ready to learn. And the teacher will use, expected, unexpected. And if they have enough, redirection needed, the child or the teacher may come over and actually move their pin from green to yellow, which is just a a visual sign to the child that, they used to be ready to learn and now they need to slow down. If they then, continue, instead of penalizing them or calling them out in front of their peers, you might see that the teacher just walk over and move them from slow down to think about it. But the good opportunity is that the child always has a chance to move back up the chart, and where they end their day is how we contact the parents. So they, at the end of the day, will say, oh, I ended my day on blue, which is a good job, and they color in blue, and that goes home to the parent. So that there is that constant parent-school communication, but again, so that the child is really accountable for the choices that they're making in the classroom.
Wonderful. Now, is this something just the teacher moves the pins, or can the child move the pins as well?
The child moves the pin, typically. The teacher will say, is this slow down behavior? Is this ready to learn? And gets the child to own it, and sometimes the child will come over and, get, okay, I'll move it to slow down.
So kind of that self-responsibility thing.
Exactly.
Oh, that's great. All right, so I'm about to trip into something else. So just a rocking chair, but I assume this kind of fits another one of those needs that someone has.
Oh yeah, I mean all children, typically babies up to pre-teen, they really do like that rocking motion. It does provide something for our students, so they can rock throughout the school day.
And now I was getting ready to put this to the side. I thought it was just kind of a beanbag to kind of lean against, but you said no, it's not. It's another thing that y'all use for the children. Yes,
yeah. You can put one beanbag, you can lay on the beanbag and then put another one on top, not to smush.
School's starting.
Yeah, school's here. Not to smush the child at all, but to provide that the core. Our OT does it with our students. Some of the teachers will do it, but it's really just so that the core is getting the input that they need. So it's another variety. And some of our kids will say, I need a sandwich. My body feels out of control. And they'll just go in between it and kind of get sandwiched so that they can go back and learn.
And my favorite one, I think, over here, so this is the trampoline I think you were talking about before.
Yes. Yeah, the trampoline, they can count on the trampoline, they can do work if you put it in front of the whiteboard, and really that jumping, again, is just really great for that sensory component of a child's learning, and just helping them really be more accountable for what's going on in their body.
Now, I know you're doing some, moving some of the the desks and chairs around. It's summertime for y'all. You got a few camps going on. But this is not storage. This is a typical classroom, right? You don't have some big, $1 million, spaces that these kids are in that make the difference. It's what we see here today with these walls, with the staff you spoke about, and these tools, right?
Right. I mean, the pillars of the JB Way is not an amazing mansion. The pillar of the JB Way is really the amazing staff that we have, the way in which we respond to the kids, and that the students drive the curriculum. And it's all of these items that we put in the environment that tells the child, you come first, and we are going to figure out how you learn, and we're going to help you get there.
That's great. Well, let's check out, I know there's a classroom with the light covers that you had mentioned, so let's go over there.
Yes.
Now, once again, we're in a different classroom, but we have additional light coming from the camera. But, Laney, that's the cover that you were talking about with the light up there, correct?
Exactly. That's what provides the different hue that allows, it's more of a calm lighting, and it really does allow the students to have a different learning environment, and has been very beneficial to them.
And it looks like it's just temporarily affixed. It almost looks like a sheet that's just up there. Was it tape magnets, something like that?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it's really just a light cover for kids that might have some more sensory or light issue to light.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Great. Well, let's go back out. This way we'll look at some more desks. Okay, so what grade classroom do we just walk into, by the way?
So this is our older campers. So it's going to be probably your 5th through 8th graders.
Okay, and I saw that you have a schedule up here already on the whiteboard.
Yes.
and something's in your hand, and I couldn't quite figure out the 1 minute, 2 minutes. It's almost like someone's giving a speech. But I guess y'all use it a little bit differently here. So can you explain to me how you use the schedule and then how you use the times?
Yeah, so a visual schedule is just really important when there's going to be any sort of transition throughout the day. Transitions and changes throughout the day are sometimes difficult for the kids to know when they're coming. So the teachers will go through the schedule so they know what's coming and so that they feel a little bit more in control of what their day is going to be. And then they give them, 7 minutes and, this is a go. You've got 7 minutes to do it. It's on the color green. And then they'll hold up 4 minutes, start slowing down, start wrapping up because we're about to transition. And then at 1 minute, it's red because we're about to stop. So again, not only is it a verbal reminder, but it's also a visual, and then they know what's coming next.
And one thing I noticed on here, Lanny, and explains why there's no children here today, is I happened to catch you during the Fieldstone Farms field trip, I guess. So I wish we could have a chance to talk to some of the students. They're amazing. But behind you, there was a name, Miss Jeanette. And I got a chance to meet her, I think, 2 days ago when I was here.
Yeah.
Can you tell us her story? Because that was kind of neat.
Yeah, so this particular student went here when she was in 2nd grade. And when she was, she actually moved to Texas. And when she wanted to come back here in the summer, we were able to do a coaching opportunity and have her be a counselor who was kind of under the direction of one of our counselors. So even though it's kind of a volunteer capacity, she is like a junior counselor. She had not in the past obtained any sort of career or work opportunity. And so we kind of wanted to make sure that she had an opportunity, and it's done amazing. We have job coached her. We have put someone over her who kind of helps her understand what's expected in obtaining a job and having responsibility, and she has flourished. She's loved it. She loves that someone's relying on her. She loves that she has somewhere to be every day, and this is kind of what we need to do as a society, is welcome these different types of learners into our workforce. People feel like when they have something to contribute, they're a bigger part of our world, and they then have purpose. And so I think that we've seen this be really, really wonderful and effective for her, and our camp has just welcomed her, and it's been beautiful.
You see her, and she's got all the passion in the world for this, understandably so, because of her time here. And then you look at the kids around her, and she's their role model.
Right.
I mean, they look at that and say, I want to be her one day,
like
and they know her, where she came from the school. So it's just, you can't have a better situation.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, one other story I have to ask you to tell. I had a student come up to me 2 days ago, and she came up, she introduced herself, she gave me her name, and you had mentioned about she has a special talent. She's like, oh yes, I love to do this, so all of a sudden she started tap dancing in front of me. And then I thought she was the most extroverted child I've ever met, and you said that's not how things started. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so when you come to a place where you're safe and you can take risks, and you have an entire school around you saying, you can do this, and really building up that confidence. Sometimes our kids come to us kind of broken, and she was one that had been bullied in her public school, and she was just kind of falling through the cracks. And she came here and she realized that she had a lot of God-given talent. She wasn't laughed at. It was, oh my gosh, I'm good at this, and then everyone around her would build her up. So all of a sudden, a very shy child who hardly talked when we got her, and she was pretty broken. Now she'll tell you, I can tap dance, I can sing, I'm the best, da-da-da. And she does that because she's in a place that is a loving environment that has built up that confidence. And we all know that without confidence to do things, it's going to be really hard later in life if you can't speak up. And so she now speaks up, and our hope would be that we can continue to nurture that confidence, so when she does leave us and goes on to high school and beyond, that she's able to use those skills she's learned.
Well, and I'd have to imagine that confidence in her extends beyond these 4 walls, because that was just amazing to see her, and I just could not believe that she started as introverted as she did.
Yep.
Great. Let's go back to the other classroom for a second.
Okay. Glenn, we have a phrase here that and many people say this in the special needs community, that when you know someone or one child on the spectrum, you know one child on the spectrum. It's not a one-size-fits-all disability, and it's really not. And it's really not that one thing works for one child, so it will automatically work with another. And I think in our education system, we really hope that most children can fit into this type of learning environment. And it's just not, it's not possible. From just the sheer numbers of our staff and the one-on-one interventions that they receive, a public school is not set up for that. Now, there are things that the public schools can do that I could never do here. And so, you know, we honor and appreciate the public ed system, but we also know that a lot of our kids have not thrived there, and they have not been successful. And if it were not for this unique opportunity, they wouldn't go on to be productive citizens.
So just like it may be reasonable to assume that taking certain children out of the public school system and putting them in this environment would not allow them to reach their full potential, nor would taking these children and putting them into a public school system.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why I think it's so important that as we have growing needs, and we have a lot of different personalities, and we have a lot of different backgrounds and where our kids come from, the education system needs to really fit to the child, not the child to the system. And we really believe that here. And you know, we have great impact on the community and the kids and their families. And so we wouldn't be able to do that if our kids were in the public system. And in fact, I've brought a number of public school administrators to see our school, and just to simply ask the question, could you integrate this into your setting? And their answers are always no. And they learn that what we're doing here is very unique. And it wouldn't work for everyone, but they've started to kind of honor it as well and say, you know, I wish we could do that in our school, but we simply can't, so we're going to support that you can.
Oh, Lanny, this is great. You know, just I wasn't sure what I was going to see when I had the invitation to come here, and then when I walked through here for about an hour and a half with you, and I told you for the next half a day I was, well, just angry that back in Virginia I knew kids were falling through the cracks because we didn't have this type of opportunity, and I couldn't explain it to a friend of mine what I had seen or the impact, so the only way to do it was come and get it from your voice and inside the building, and hopefully we can export this to Virginia, and you know, hopefully get you down there sometime to better explain it again in person, so we can have these types of opportunities for our children. It's, you know, there's a lot of needs we have in every state, but the most important ones are those that are getting ready to start their life and making sure that they have the right foundation to begin with, regardless of any needs. And y'all have just done an exceptional job here, so thank you so much.
Thank you.